Hello, hello, hello. YG Gooner back again with another one. Yo, this is gonna be really fun because I don't get to talk about my shit club. You get me? It's gonna be really fun because one, I'm not talking about Arsenal, and two, like I get to like pick the brain of another fan, which is something that's gonna be like really intriguing for me. Um, Now, first of all, I'm gonna want to put your names down at the bottom over there, but I'm still
Yeah.
gonna introduce. I'm still gonna introduce you. This is one of my brothers, my homeboy Miguel. We've been through thick and thin together at
Oh, hell
our
yeah, man.
previous work of employment. Lots of stress. Um,
Lots of sleeping at work when we're not supposed to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that
I think me,
because
you, and
it was
Kyle all
was
passed
it
out.
was it Euros? It was Euros.
No, it was just before the Euros because we were talking about it. Because I remember we were talking about a link for Sporting, Chelsea Martins, and that was before he got sent off.
Mm, Yeah, and the thing is like we're gonna get into like the nitty gritty about your club and that, but
Mhm.
there's just a little bit of banter right now. Thing is that like at that point in time in that period, yeah, um, my club was kind of in the mud.
Mhm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is before the man we're gonna be speaking about a lot was even there.
Yeah, so actually, Sporting at that time, I had a lot of the same problems that you had. We were just kind of doing like the cup contending. So we have two small cups. So what you guys would call the Carabao Cup, so Taça Portugal, and then
Mm-hmm.
Taça de Liga. No, sorry, Taça Liga for Carabao, and then the FA Cup would be the Taça Portugal.
That. And yeah. So first of all, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna ease into it. So we're gonna from green to red. You get what I'm trying to say? We're gonna go from green to red. First of all, before we even start everything with this said man of question, the man that everyone's saying is gonna raise the sleeping giant. How do you say his name?
Ruben Amorim.
Ruben Amorim.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Honestly, Amorim is not like a bad way to say it. Like,
hmm
I mean, I get it. It's an accent at the end of the day.
hmm Yeah. And how did you first start supporting sporting?
You know what? I know the exact game. Actually, I used to not like watching club football and just watch the Portugal play. But I remember my cousin came here from Portugal to Canada, and he wanted me to watch the Taça game between Sporting and Braga, which was a tough match because we were down a red card, and our goaltender at that time, who was a star player, Roy Patrici, was injured. So I was like, I don't know. He's like, hey man, it's barely any time you get to spend with your family. Come on. So I ended up watching that game with him, and man, I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah, the thing is with sports and stuff. Like, how old were you when your cousin came down?
I think that was back in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, because Jorge Jesus would have been, yeah. So about 2014, 2015, 2013 is when I would have started.
Mm, mm. Yeah, because I remember for me, right? So I don't think I've even on this channel like done like a story of how I became an Arsenal fan or any of that stuff. But for
Yeah.
me, it's just my dad is just always watching sports, and
Mm.
so I love the color red. And then like I saw the passion that he showed and the emotion he showed. Because my dad back then, yeah, he didn't really like. For me, he was just like a someone that didn't show too much emotion. I saw the emotion
Yeah,
he
yeah.
showed watching Arsenal. I wanted to be a part of that. So that's really it. It's just you see him like in your instance a loved one and how much passion and love they have for something. And so for me, I feel like I've just been an Arsenal fan my whole entire life. But speaking of being a fan of a club and being a fan of a club for your entire life, for me personally, I have not seen my club win anything in my
Yeah.
adolescence or in a time where I can actually vividly watch every single game. Now, tell me about your club before Ruben Amorim came in. Like maybe just like yeah, like just a little bit of background information so we
So
kind of
I'll
get.
give you a clip notes because actually it would have been the perfect timing because I actually this is when I started watching. So I forget the president before, but we had a president named Bruno Carvalho, and honestly, the best way to describe him was he was the Donald Trump of the Portuguese league. He wanted to make Sporting great again was his big motto. So getting rid of dead contracts, trying to bring in some bigger names, and trying to get Sporting to finally win that Portuguese league. So we hired a new coach named Jorge Jesus, which was infamous with Benfica, who ended up making a very deep run in either the Europa League or the Champions League. Honestly, I forget.
Mhm.
And he became our coach, and we had actually a very decorated team at the time. A huge part of our 11 ended up going to the Portuguese national team and winning the Euros with them.
So
So we
can
had a
you,
good team.
which players were a part of
Oh,
the
there was
Gooner?
a lot. So João Mario was playing at the time. Adrian Silva, who was our captain, William Carvalho, Roy Patricio, who was our goaltender at that time. I'm missing, I think, one more, if I'm not mistaken. But there was quite a few handfuls and other
Was it
kids that came through the academy.
Jason Martins? Oh no, he
Jose
wasn't.
Martins wasn't playing at that time.
No, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to get an idea of the players that were playing at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, trying to think of anyone maybe. I mean, Adrian went to Leicester, so I don't know, man. Like, the problem with like, okay, so actually getting to the next part. So with Bruno Carvalho, everything was starting to get really good. Like, we went to second place, I think the first year, and we were doing really well too. 93 points in the league, which was our highest before Ruben Amorim at that time when it came to the league points, which shows how hard it is to win the Portuguese league because
Hmm.
Porto or Benfica were doing really well too. I think Porto at one point even got 103 points in the league, and that's the league total right now. Like, it's crazy, man.
Hmm.
But anyways, to kind of shorten this down, so year after year we
Take your
were
time. You don't have to shorten it. Take
no,
your
no
time.
worries, bro. Year after year we weren't really meeting what we wanted to do. We became more of a like trophy winners, winning, but not a league winner. So yeah, we win Taça Liga, Taça Portugal, or even the Super Cup in between that time, but we weren't doing the best, except for one year. We were tied with Benfica on points, and all we needed to do was beat Benfica in our own home. And this will give every Sporting fan a heart attack. We had a striker name at the time, Brian Ruiz, infamous now with Sporting. And I feel bad because this is the end of his career. But right in front of the net, not even joking, like probably a foot or two, skied it over the net. And that was
Uh,
the
he did
final
what
nail of the
he did
coffin.
what Trossard did versus Chelsea. Like, 'cause we had a shot that come in off of the like a cross coming off the right, and he
Yeah, yeah,
just skied it. Just skied it. Is it like like I'm just gonna describe a
yeah,
situation,
yeah,
and maybe this is what's happened. You know when you lean back before you kick the ball, you
yeah,
try and side foot it.
exactly.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But the thing is, Brian Ruiz was a great player, but the problem was that one moment, and you could see it in him grabbing the net and just hitting his face because it cost us the league at that point. So the year after, we weren't really contending with anything, even though we had our big signing at that time, Bruno Fernandes, and we weren't doing anything, man. Bruno Fernandes was hauling that team. So Bruno Carvalho started calling his favorite social media of choice was Facebook, and just like Donald Trump on Twitter, he would make his rants off of Facebook. So there was a massive rant talking about how there was no drive with the players, how they didn't want to win, and how they were lazy and they were only within it for the money. And then a lot of the players that were there said, put a picture posted with Sporting, basically saying like, "Hey, we love the club, we want to win. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on." And we were having a game after all of this for the Taça de Portugal, which we were supposed to win. It was a very small team. I forget. I think it was Stubel, the name of the team, Victoria Stubel, that we were playing, and we ended up having the fans attack the players at that time. So I
The
think it
other
was
thing is, like, I think there's two instances for me where I just remember fans coming on, and yours, like I don't remember the other team. The other team was during training. Or was it that your team was during training?
So we have a different city that we have our academy in, and that's where the players do the training. So they broke
Mhm.
into that city to break them. But the crazy part, the between the line things, is there was actually reports afterwards that Bruno Carvalho, our president at the time, actually instigated the ultras to attack the players at that time. So
So it's like the White
literally, like
House.
As I'm saying,
Yeah.
man, Donald
Yeah.
Trump, but nothing's confirmed nor denied. He did go to
Mhm.
court for it. Like, I don't want to say Bruno Carvalho did a lot of wrong because he did a lot of right, especially a huge transfer like Bruno Fernandes. With the sale of Bruno Fernandes going to Manchester United, which I think after bonuses was 75 million, we were able to sign Ruben Amorim at that time. Um, yeah, we'll skip to that part right now. So Sporting, we were going through a few different managers. We went through Kaiser. Kaiser, we ended up winning a few cups, and then out of nowhere, they ended up getting rid of him, which I actually liked Kaiser a lot, a Dutch player.
Mm.
So he had that old school Dutch style play. So I actually liked that, but then they got rid of him, and then they hired a new guy named Shilas, and he was terrible. I think we lost
Wait,
4 games in a row.
can I ask a question? Like
Go for it.
during this period in time when you signed these two managers, was it the same sporting director that was in play at this particular time, or?
No, so we got one guy. Oh my, I forgot about this part too. We hired one guy after him to just kind of take the reins while we had the elections.
Mhm.
So this guy, Bruno
Sorry
Carvalho,
to cut you off. For
yeah,
election, like I know what it is. I'm just saying it just in case, you know. So the election is because for us, our owner is just
yeah.
they bought the club, they're in, that's it. But election, you guys, for like Portuguese teams, Spanish teams, you guys elect the person who you want to be the president of your
Yeah, yeah.
sporting operations.
So we actually have membership cards. Actually, I have mine with me right now. I'll take it out while I'm there. So we basically pay like a little bit to be a part of the membership with the club. Yeah. And it just gives you discounts for the games and they let you do elections and kind of read in between.
Mhm.
So with the elections, you basically can choose from the presidency of like who you want to have. Thanks, Felicia. So at that time, Bruno Carvalho got kicked off because of everything that happened. We had an interim come in between. So Bruno Carvalho hired a coach, and then the interim came in and then fired that coach. Later on, we ended up paying 3 million because of unlawful termination for that. And then we hired some Portuguese guy. I forgot his name. The football was so bad, I don't even want to remember that time.
What,
That's
what,
why
what,
Kai.
what, what was bad about the football? Just.
Well, we sold completely everyone. And then the players ended up terminating the contract. So big names like Rafael Leon ended up terminating his contract, making big lies in between to get his contract denied. We're still trying to get money from Lille and AC Milan for his transfer. And actually, I think he's paying for it because of it, because he actually had a lot of lies just to get his trade. William Carvalho left, Roy Patricio ended up leaving too. Bruno Fernandes almost left, but we ended up offering him a bigger contract. The player I loved the most at the time, Bas Dos, great striker at the time. I think his most prolific
I
was
know Bastos.
32.
I know Bastos.
I love Bas
Uh,
Dos. Man, they
big.
attacked this guy. They hit him in the head multiple times. Like I never understood why they
And he
attacked
has no
him.
hair as well. So if you hit him in the head, yeah, that's like, you know what I'm trying to
Oh,
say?
I felt so bad for him. But yeah, he ended up taking the blunt of the attack too. Marcus Acuna ended up leaving at that time too. So like the team was just skeletons, and it wasn't even like we brought some kids up from the academy. It was just like we ended up buying some guys, and I don't even remember like that team. Like it's hard for me to remember. So it was tough when the next coach came in, Kaiser. We ended up making a few more transfers, a few promising wonder kids, and he actually made like a pretty decent team. Like I said, the football was good with him, but we ended up firing him for some reason and hiring a new guy. And between that time too, we ended up hiring our new president at that time, who is still our current president, Fabio Vieira. Fabio Vieira, who was actually the top guy for our oh my god, what's it called? Um, the he was like our a medic at the time, like the guy that you
Mhm.
go with for the sports fitness. He was a top sports fitness
Oh,
guy.
he's talking about sports fitness.
Yeah, so he ended up becoming the president, and he had a tough job. Like we'll be honest, but he started bringing in some new guys too, but nothing was really working. With Silas being the last manager before Ruben, he ended up losing to Braga at that time, and the way that Braga blew us out, I was amazed. I'll be honest, I was amazed. I know a lot of people didn't want Ruben Amorim in the beginning to come in, but I was so fed up with the club. I remember this long text message to my father, and I was like, Dad, like, I'm so tired of this club. Nothing is happening. Everything is going bad. Like, nobody wants to play for us because of the attacks. Like, it's becoming depressing, like, watching the games because we're tying every game or we're losing to teams that we should be beating. And this guy comes in with, I think, like 4 or 5 games at this point and absolutely obliterated us. Porto won Taça de Portugal in his first few days of being a coach at Braga. And I'm like, we need this guy, not knowing how much the cost was going to be because I didn't know he even had a contract. I'm like,
Mm.
bro, interim manager, we need this guy. And I knew Ruben Amorim from when he played for Portugal because he played for the terrible, what was it? The terrible game for Germany against Germany, USA. I think Ghana was also in that group. Like a very mid team. Ronaldo and Nani were the only ones carrying us at that time.
Right,
And
so Ruben Amorim played with Ronaldo.
yeah, man, he's young, bro. Like
Yeah,
even too, like even when I was watching football, like Ruben Amorim was the captain for Benfica.
yeah, that's actually why I wanted to get at, because like you're saying that like people didn't want him to come in, right? And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking it has to do a little bit with his playing days as someone that used to play for Benfica.
yeah,
And
yeah,
something funny about that, yeah, is that what's his name? I think one of United's best managers. People know Fergie, right? But I think
yeah,
it's Matt Budsby. He actually used to play for Liverpool, then managed United.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and that's a parallel that like because I like to like find parallels and
yeah, yeah.
with managers and stuff. That's a parallel I can see with Almerim is that he used to play for the Ops, and
Yeah.
then he's now joined and he successfully got you guys a title. And like you kind of like from the story, I'm able to grasp that like you guys were kind of like okay, we're close, we're getting there,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you get a dip in form, and you're going from manager to manager. And now, early days with Amorim, like how did the club look like in terms of talent, staff? How did the club look before, like right before man stepped in?
Oh man, it was terrible. Like I said, like everything was kind of in disarray. Like management, we had no idea, and even to the president at the time, or same president, Fabio Vieira, he was under a lot of scrutiny. Like this was basically like it's all or nothing kind of thing. So we brought in Ruben Amorim, and the consensus was terrible. Like a lot of people hated him, which I don't really get. So in Portugal, the big three, like everybody goes in between the big three. Like even Jose Mourinho was a Benfiquista before he went to Porto.
Hmm.
Ruben Amorim was the captain for Benfica before he came to Sporting, and even was playing for Casa Pia, I believe, too, as a player. Or no, Belenense and Braga as well. So like you go in between these teams all the time too. Like we have players that go in between the teams as well. Like a massive legend of the club, Mario Jardel, real one no Jardel. Prolific scorer and everything, but the only reason why he couldn't make the Brazil team was because you had R9 as a striker. But like that's what I mean. Like there's these guys that come in all the time. Even the coach that was doing really well with Sporting before, George Jesus, he was a Benfiquista. Like he came from Benfica and moved to Sporting. That's why I didn't really care too much about the whole like him being a Benfica fan.
Hmm.
But
Because
obviously him being
he played for them, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's a professional and he's coming in to do a job.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said that before he came and spanked you. So in your head, you're like, okay, he's got something about him. Let's give
Yeah.
him a chance.
Right. And honestly, in his interview, and this is the interview I most remember with Ruben Amorim because, again, like everybody's under scrutiny, even him. Like you spent the third most expensive manager trade of all time on a manager with a struggling team. We don't really have a captain, or we did have a captain. We don't really have like an identity at that point, and everything is just going down, 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 down. We were even in debt with other clubs too. Like the banks were having issues with us.
So like Man
Like
United.
yeah, yeah, like everything was terrible. And this guy comes in talking like, what if everything goes wrong is what everyone's asking. but I want to ask the question: what if everything goes right?
Hmm.
And my God, I love that quote from that man because
That's what
just
he
like he,
said. So he's like, "Oh, everything's going wrong," and then he's just like, "You know what? What if everything just goes right?"
yeah,
Uh,
like
you know
that
the thing
smile
is
too.
about managers is
Yeah,
that like before you win anything, so before you win anything, there's like you're gonna remember all of these quotes,
yeah,
or they're just going through the motions. Like I could name you a whole bunch of things that Josh Kroenke and Arteta have said, but
mhm,
before you win anything, they're never gonna be things that just click in people's heads and like, yo, like this is all the stuff before and all that stuff. He
yeah,
meant it, and like for you, I'm not too sure, but you probably heard that and then was like, okay, yeah, he sounds great. He's
yeah.
supposed to. But now that obviously you've experienced him, you're just like, yeah, like he meant it and he knew he had the ability to do so.
Well,
Now
he has
I'm
belief
gonna
in himself. Like that's like a
yeah,
huge thing about himself.
yeah, and I'm gonna kind of shift, and I want to ask you a question just
Yeah,
because for me I don't know how it feels, and I want to pick your brain because like maybe through some kind of telepathic empathy I'll be able to know how it feels. But to the best of my knowledge, Sporting hadn't won the league for about 20 years before Amorim
yeah.
come, if I'm
19
correct.
years. Yeah,
19. Now, okay, so he won on the 19th or he won on the 20th.
19. Well,
Okay, so
technically
he
the
won on.
19th because 20 years is correct, but the COVID season is what changed it.
Oh, okay. How
Yeah.
did it feel? Because I'm of the assumption, based on your
Mhm.
story of how you became a fan, that you have never even experienced.
Oh, never. Like I saw
Yeah. So
like
how did it
clubs and I
feel?
went crazy for that. Like this is literally the truth. Before Ruben Amorim, my biggest game that I remember was us almost beating Real Madrid. Like that's how much I was holding on to these things. But yeah, the team that Ruben Amorim he came in, well, there was a few players he wanted to get rid of, just a lot of personalities, and he wasn't getting into. And I think that's where the parallel of him coming in midway through the season, because he did come midway through the season for us.
Yeah.
So kind of gave the players a chance, experimented a lot too, brought in some kids from the academy that obviously everybody knows now. Nunu Men's being a huge one, Gonzalo Nasiu, who's still one of our biggest center backs, Eduardo Quaresma, who's been in and out of the lineup, but the last year or so, like he's kind of showed he has that ability to step forward.
Mm.
Who else? Mateus Nunes was starting to come up too, still really young, and I believe I'm missing one more. But other big contracts too, like big money contracts, he ended up getting rid of a few of them. The biggest one I can talk about was Lloris. Was this guy who was good at the beginning, but kind of let the ego get to him. So him and Ruben ended up getting like back and forth, and he's just like, you know what, get out of the door. So terminated the contract, sent him off on his way, and another one too. I think his name was Balasse from Everton.
I know. I
God,
know.
that
I
was
know.
terrible. He
I
was
know him.
terrible.
I know.
Rafael Camacho
Crystal
for
Palace won the kid.
Liverpool, wonder kid for Liverpool, terrible. Highest earner at the club ended up terminating his contract, and then he ended up bringing these kids in. So I didn't have much expectations too, because even the transfer window after that season, I think we made it fourth place. Like not much expectations because you have a club full of kids, some experienced center backs like Quats coming in, a full new system. So I didn't have much expectations. Little did I know, some of these trades and transfers would be huge. Pedro Porto coming in, being absolutely amazing for Sporting. I still think the best right wing back we've seen for Sporting. Nuno Santos coming in. Another kid. Oh, Diego Tomas, another kid coming in from the academy.
I know that guy very, very well. And
Yeah,
it's not like watching him, you know what I'm trying to say? Like
no,
some
no,
guys you
he's
just
not
know
one
for
player to
their
watch.
alternate ego in FM. You just know them for an alternate ego in FM. Like I don't
Yeah,
think FM is real life or anything, but I know him through FM. Even Pedro Porro, I
yeah,
knew him just because of the whole City affiliation,
yeah, yeah,
and then he's coming to Sporting, and yeah, and I think me and you I think we've met at that time, so we're talking a
yeah.
little bit. So I know a little bit of these players. Um, now, I don't know if it was me that broke the news to you, right? That
You
told
were.
you. Yeah, I don't know if it was. Yeah, but I wanted it to come from someone that loves you. Yeah, and I
No,
was
because
actually, and I'll be honest with you. I was very pissed off as well when I saw it
yeah,
because like I believe you have really good ball knowledge, right? I believe you have really good ball knowledge, and so when you talk about Ruben Almiron, I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy, he actually is it, and um, yeah, man, I'm not scared. Like the way I view football is my team. I don't care what anyone else does except for what my team does.
yeah,
If we lose, it's because of my own team. It ain't got nothing to do with how good someone else is. Like both of us have played sports. Like when you play and the right winger is beating you all the time, you don't care that you're up 3-0. You only care about the fact that you're getting your
yeah.
ass kicked by the right winger
Yeah, you don't
all
want to
the
be
time.
magged a bunch of times.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like it's a personal thing between you and him, right?
Yeah,
And so for me, yeah, um, I'm actually expecting Man United because they're playing Ipswich. That's their
yeah,
first game. I'm expecting them to be okay. I'm expecting them to be okay. I'm expecting the sleeping giant to wake up. And
yeah.
do you think he's gonna do well in United?
I believe so. I think honestly, like the trials and tribulation was much bigger at Sporting because obviously from an outsider in the Portuguese league, they don't look at us as a big club, but we are. So like a lot of scrutiny, like the media is huge, especially like when you're in it and against it, like the media can be huge. I think the best example I have of it is we have a guy named Paulinho. Um, he's one of the, you ever hear of Joey Moss from the Oilers? So he's a guy with a mental disorder, and that we
Oh,
just have
okay.
in the club to kind of raise spirits. Like these guys were crowding him with microphones, trying to get inside knowledge if Gyökeres would leave or Ruben Amorim would leave after like the, and like you know what I mean. Like it's funny when he's just like, "Oh, I promise you, like Gyökeres or Ruben won't leave." Like I even love some of the media posts to be like, "Oh, confirmed, confirmed." But like
No, no, no.
they'll grab anything, man.
No, why I knew like how I knew like I knew it. Like it's just one of those things where I knew it. As I heard
Yeah,
it, I heard the murmurings at first. I was like, nothing's coming out of Portugal,
yeah,
right? And then I saw him when as soon as I saw his interview, the look he had on his face
yeah,
is like, I love this club. I don't want to disrespect this club.
yeah.
And unfortunately, you and Man United have like a weird relationship. You really do. I'm even surprised, right? And this is another thing I really love about
Mhm.
you is that with all of the players they've taken from you and now a manager, I love the fact that you don't support them. Does that make sense?
Well, because
'Cause-
like Sporting's my club, man. Like I like seeing Man U. Like when Bruno first came to the league, like I was watching like every game because Bruno Fernandes was my favorite player at that time. Even to like Luis Nani being my favorite player of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Marcus Rojo coming in too. Like it's not something like I would hate. Like it's sad that unfortunately like some of the best players leave our ranks. It's just unfortunately how the league is. And I mean, it's a big turnstile. Like you go to the next player, to the next player, to the next player, to the next player. So you
yeah,
kind of just get used to it, man. So I can't get mad at a team that's helped our club, especially with the Bruno Fernandes trade, bringing in Ruben Amorim. Like that trade alone saved my club.
yeah. And the thing is, for me, is just like as North Americans, we have this whole big thing where people believe that we don't like. Well, to be honest, I was born in the UK, so like I don't really have like for me, I see myself differently. But for people that are from the
Yeah, yeah.
UK, they see me as as a Canadian. You
Hey,
get
I'm
me?
Canadian
So
too.
yeah, so like they have this whole big thing about like how we just support players, we don't support teams, we don't know about
Yeah,
rivalry, this and that, right? And like
yeah,
oh how like for some weird reason we always get pinned with the US, which I believe Canadians are so different to US, but they have this thing where oh they're like US is like a whole land based on competition and capitalism, but their sports are communism. kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know. But what we're gonna do something a little like a little bit. I don't know. Is it a little bit fun? I don't know. Just because I don't even know how am I gonna work this out because they've got all these players here, and I can't even spell.
Oh, for Manchester United or for Sporting?
For Manchester United,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you a lineup of is what people think United's lineup's gonna look at, and then you
Yeah.
just let me know what you're thinking and who you think is gonna be moving around and whatnot.
I'll be honest, like I'm not really too familiar with the Manchester United game. Like I know like you and I talked and you said that Manchester center backs were actually really good and you thought they could actually do the three in the back.
Yeah,
For me though, I would focus the attack. The only thing I don't understand, and like I obviously watch Man U like news, is people
yeah.
talking about Bruno Fernandes not being in the lineup or not fitting the Ruben Amorim system. That is the only thing I do not understand.
Okay, so you said you don't understand people saying Bruno Fernandez is not gonna fit the system.
Oh yeah,
Uh, where do you like because Bruno Fernandez primarily plays off of the right? Do you
yeah,
think um like because apparently that's it like this is based off of my knowledge, it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
based off of what's that word called, off of actual fact, because
yeah,
my
yeah,
knowledge is my opinion of Ruben versus the fact of what he actually plays. Does he play? Because they're saying like people, I've heard people say this and other people say that he's saying that basically the wing backs, right, are
yeah,
basically what would be like what you'd traditionally call your left midfielder or your right midfielder, like kind of like a
yeah,
David
yeah,
Beckham position,
yeah, yeah,
where yeah, where like defense is not like your
yeah,
primary outlook, but you know the crossing and the winger. So like, do you think because like Bruno Fernandez and Marcus Rashford is the big talking point. Those two
yeah,
are the
yeah,
biggest talking points, right? Um, I don't know if Lenny Euro is actually fit,
yeah.
but the lit is like your who plays your central centre back.
So it was supposed to be Gonzalo Inacio, especially since he's been our longest standing center back as of currently. But currently it's Diomande, just because his physicality is honestly unmatched in the Portuguese league. So he's just really good at holding the ball down, getting the passes in, or just kind of holding the ball when he needs to. So that would be the biggest thing for that. And the biggest example would be Quats. Quats, with the experienced center back, knew when he could stop the ball, stop the play, kind of slowed everything down, and kind of get back into that possession game. Because Ruben Amorim likes playing that possession game. And that's the reason why he does the three in the back, because that flexibility lets him play in any way that he wants to. So when we're playing counter-attacking style, like I've seen our wingbacks play really deep and then go off the counter and then have either the left or the right center backs play as kind of a four in the back
Hmm.
until like we hold possession and then they kind of do like a half circle with the attack. But we'll see. I do believe the Bruno Fernandes one will be a little bit tougher because our best player in Sporting to best relate to is Pedro Gonçalves, who's we nicknamed Pot. Potts kind of plays in that left wing or center midfield. It depends on really like injuries and like where you can play or who we're playing against. But he can play
Hmm.
both, which I believe Bruno Fernandes can play both. So
So
me
you're saying
seeing,
that just sorry to cut you off, but you're saying that
yeah,
Bruno Fernandes, I'm gonna move Ugarte, right?
yeah, yeah,
Just for reference, but you're saying that Bruno Fernandes will either play um here,
yeah.
so so he can play here and he can play in the cam position
So
because
you can play.
you
You can
watched him
play.
both for Portugal and you've watched him for United and you've actually watched him for your team as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So under George Jesus, he was in the four back though, but he was playing more the cam behind Bastos. So when
mhm.
people would be more focused on Bastos, he'd be doing the run-ins. So I believe he could honestly play that left wing behind like the center forward because that's what Pot that kind of does too. So right now where Bruno Fernandes is where Pot is playing right now. So somebody that can bring the ball in or make cuts in and play between the lines with Rasmus Human or yeah,
Yeah,
right? No,
yeah. I think
yeah.
I don't know how they properly pronounce his name, but like
I'm
yeah.
so bad with that. Like Gyökeres, and I honestly think him and Gyökeres are very much kind of the same player, like very strong player, kind of gets an eye for the ball and kind of can hold possession. I don't know about running down the lines though. I don't know if that's just a Gyökeres thing,
Hmm.
but I think him and Bruno off of each other will play really well.
Do you think that because I got Hoyland here, right?
Yeah.
But do you think it'll actually be Rashford that starts? And if right, do you think that there's a
Yeah.
chance that it's Rashford versus him? Like, is there
So
any similarities between Rashford and Gyökeres?
this is going to be where the controversial stuff is. Honestly, at the end of the day, and this is the biggest thing with Ruben Amorim, it all comes down to training. And since Rashford is the highest earner at Man U, I've seen Ruben Amorim cut contracts that are the highest, like Rafael Camacho, who didn't want to play. So it really depends if sorry, I don't know why I said Rafa. If Rashford really wants to play really wants to play, so he needs to show it in training. But I would see him more as a winger than I would a striker. Like I've seen him play striker before, and he's had success. I believe he played against PSG as a striker and scored two
Yeah,
goals
he
that
did.
game.
Yeah,
So there is success with it, and I mean, he does play with different strikers. Like the best example I can say was last year, Gyökeres and Paulinho, two different strikers and both good in their own ways. Paulinho being better on the head, better at holding the ball and passing back between the lines, and interceptions especially was massive between Paulinho, or even Gyökeres, who is strong, holds the ball but drives it forward. So he might just look at the opponent and see maybe working a little bit different. He could even put Dilo. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that.
oh yeah,
Ahmad.
yeah. I
Yeah,
know he. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He could basically maybe switch him and Ahmad being nuts, just kind of see how it is. Because this year for sure is just going to be experimental. Like it's going to be different lineups. Like it's going to be trying players in different positions and seeing how they are. So it's tough for me to even say, like, I don't know. I would say Hillman probably or Hoyland would probably be the first guy on top, but maybe giving some Rashford some time. Because how long has
Yeah, give
Rashford
him
been
time to
injured?
shoot himself in the foot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know, man. Like, there's some players too that like were having difficulties and made themselves shown. Like Quats was a huge one, being our captain at Sporting, getting a lot of scrutiny, especially even being there when the attacks happened. But Ruben Amorim kind of talked to him, said, "Hey, like this is the plan that I want to do, and let's go for it." Even too, João Palhinha is another one. João Palhinha was on loan to Braga at that time, and his 2-year contract was up, and he wanted to bring him from Braga to Sporting, but he ended up talking about how he didn't want to play with the club, a lot of the scrutiny that he received, and he ended up talking to him and playing that position. I mean, hey, now look at João Palhinha playing for Bayern Munich. Like, it's hard to say with personalities, especially where these things are going to go.
mm. And so I got like two final questions for you, just because
Yeah,
I know
man.
you've come off of work and we've gone longer than I thought we would. And I don't want to keep you up for too long.
Yeah, no worries,
Um,
man.
so Ugarte is one person that has played under.
Yeah,
Actually, did Bruno play under? He
no,
didn't. No, he did.
no.
Okay, yeah. I was sure he didn't. So Ugarte did play under Amorim, and I just want to get like because I don't have an idea. Like watching Ugarte now, I don't know. I only know he's good at pressing. He just looks like a dog. He looks like what McTominay was, except he's
Yeah,
shorter. And I know that how United are right now and how toxic they are, you
yeah.
can't see the attributes of players and they look worse. Like look at McTominay now. So I just want to know, like, what what do you think Almiron would be able to bring out if you got it?
Oh, I believe so. Especially the drive in the system. Like I said, the biggest thing is training and just the biggest advantage for Ruben Amorim is man management. And when players are happy, I mean, you could see that with a lot of teams. They start playing better too. So I think he'd be able to get the best out of Guarte. Guarte, I mean, was a
Oh,
great
that's what you say.
passer.
That's how you say the name, Guate.
Guarte.
Guate. Oh, gang, Guate.
So Uguate. Anyways, Uguate, like very physical guy, does love doing that like heavy challenge, which can be good and bad in a few cases. Like I know him getting a red card was against Arsenal was a big one, but it's that also fight in him to kind of just try to win the tackle, get the ball, and keep going with it. So I would love to see how he does under Ruben Amorim again. I know it's going to be different with the huge loads of players too, because at the end of the day, like I don't know who Ruben I wants to keep and who he wants to let go and try new things. And like Man U has had a decorated academy before, so you don't know some of the kids that even might come up from the academy who gives us like an opportunity to play these things. He's not scared to play kids. I mean, he played Dario Sugu at 16 in the Champions League. Man
It's
cried
funny you
because he
say
was
that. It's
yeah,
funny you say that. There was reports that they I can't remember what the kid's name was, but they had a kid training, and he's legitimately 16 years old, and they're saying this kid's touted to be like the next Manu or whatnot. And they were saying that like Almiron was like, yo, like come train with us. I wouldn't be surprised if I see that kid on the bench for the Ipswich game as well.
yeah,
Um,
and like I honestly see like wingbacks being like the biggest problem with like the Man United team right now because I see Casemiro playing really well. I see the center backs playing really well too. Like Delit also being in that center back like position, being like the main guy, very physical. Uh, I don't know if he'd be able to slow down the game or if Ruben could kind of train that into him because that is something that the confidence in the center midfield it has to be there
yeah,
because we
I
had
do
player
think that with the lip because he played three in the back with Juve,
yeah
right? And obviously I don't watch enough of sports, and I am not familiar with Diamande's game,
yeah
right? Um, but I do feel like out of all of the center backs, actually to be honest, I feel like like the center backs, I feel like this whole back line is gonna be good
yeah
because Onana can slow down the game as well. He's not a center back, right?
yeah
He's not, but he does
no
possess that ability. And like, what could happen is that like you could have it where like these guys act like this because Onana just keeps the way he holds the ball. You could have it where like it's kind of like
yeah
and yeah, um,
and like you know what it was actually a good thing you said Onana too because Ruben does kind of like starting to play from like all the way back and moving forward. So Onana, I remember from Ajax being like a very good ball playing goaltender. So I want to see actually how he does, and I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be.
he's not, he's not, he's not. He really isn't.
Yeah,
But this is to be honest, man. Like it would be nice for us to have like these chats every now and then, man. It was nice having a chat like this on stream, but like,
yeah, man.
yeah, man. Bro, it's a blast. Thank you for giving me. I said 30 minutes. You've given me 43 minutes of time, man.
No,
Thank
no
you so
problem,
much. I
man.
heard Buddy in the background. Send him my love.
Oh yeah, he was just chilling by the
Yeah,
heater.
send him my love, man. This is YAG Gooner. If you liked this, if you enjoyed this content, if you loved Miguel and you want to see more of him on the channel, you know how to show your appreciation. Please hit the like button. We're on the road to 1K. If you made it up to this point, and you ain't subscribed, subscribe. You know what I'm trying to say. Do I try to be a little bit more consistent, but it's hard with a full-time job. But that's where pre-records come in. That's where pre-records come in. Tomorrow we're gonna do an FM stream. You get me? I'm gonna be doing my quest of being a new Pep Guardiola inside Germany. It is
Bro,
what it
you are the
is.
Pep Guardiola, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it's YAG Guna. Thanks for the love. Peace.
Peace.